Happy Wednesday morning to you, Kingsway Church. Good to be with you via video. Hey, I'm going to run a couple things by you, then we're going to talk about next Sunday. And so on this room here, remember we've been doing some renovation here. I think they're going to lay down carpet this week because we don't have Sunday school. And so here's what's going down right here. I'm going to lay down carpet in this room, and then here's the actual carpet right here. And then here's the nursery, which I actually have never been in here, really. But they're going to lay down these carpet squares in here and get new carpet for the kids. So they've been working really, really hard moving things along. So big shout out to the trustees and Terry Avant, and I'm not sure who all, Roy Burdette, I think, and Dave Schoenbeckler. Anyway, a lot of activity, a lot of work. And then, of course, we have the breakfast this coming Sunday. Again, talk with Roy, and he will let you know how you can help. But the breakfast, Easter breakfast, I'm kind of looking forward to that. And just remind you guys, that's for us to help and serve. And we're going to treat the ladies to breakfast. So anyway, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Easter and how that works on the calendar, and then talk about Spy Wednesday or Holy Wednesday, because we are in Holy Week. So it took me a while to kind of understand why Easter dates fluctuate almost up to a month in our Western calendar. We follow the Gregorian calendar. So it works like this, okay? We're going to do a little science here. The date for Easter in the West, those who follow the Gregorian calendar, which is us, falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, okay? So that's like 3 steps, and it basically works like this. The spring equinox is that day of the year in the spring when there's about 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night, so it's pretty well balanced. And there's a fall equinox as well, and while we're talking about it, there's a summer solstice and a winter solstice. Those are pretty cool. The summer solstice is like the longest day of the year. Winter solstice is the shortest day of the year. But anyway, so the vernal or the spring equinox in the spring, once that happens, and it's going to be March 19 to 21 every year, right in that time frame. But once that happens, then it'll go for the first full moon. Look for the first full moon afterwards, and then once that first full moon comes, then your next Sunday is Easter. So here we are. But anyway, so that's kind of the explanation for why the date swings like up to a month at a time. But I want to read to you from, we're shifting gears here now. This is Holy Week. And so each day of the week is kind of, as we approach Good Friday and then Easter, these are very special days, all of them, with significant events having happened on each day. When I was little, growing up, this was not really a thing. I mean, it was just like, you mentioned Palm Sunday, and then there was Easter. But so Wednesday, or Holy Wednesday, is sometimes called Spy Wednesday. And I'm going to explain that a little bit, but let me read this story to you from Matthew chapter 26, okay? So Jesus is anointed at Bethany. Now, there are actually 2 stories about Jesus being anointed by Mary, and some people think those are 2 different scenarios. Some people think that's actually the same situation being told from 2 different angles. I think it might be 2 different situations, but Matthew 26, now when Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came up to him with an alabaster flask of very expensive ointment, and she poured it on his head as he reclined at table. And when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, "Why this waste? For this could have been sold for a large sum and given to the poor." But Jesus, aware of this, said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a beautiful thing to me. For you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. In pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for burial. Truly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." That has happened right now. So then the very next verse says, "Then one of the 12, whose name was Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, What will you give me if I deliver him over to you? And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he sought an opportunity to betray him. So that would have happened on Wednesday. Now, John tells a similar account about Jesus being anointed by Mary, the sister of Lazarus. And in that account, Judas objected to the waste of money. And John says he didn't really care about the poor. He actually would take from the money bag because he was like the treasurer. And he would take from it because he was a thief. And I've wondered sometimes if this correction to the disciples from Jesus, as they were indignant about the waste of money and what about the poor, and Jesus basically says, I'm more important than the poor. Worship of me is more valuable than ministering to the poor. And I've wondered sometimes if that was just kind of a trigger event for Judas where he stormed out and said, fine, I'm going to betray him now. I don't know. Either way, that happened on Wednesday, and so it sounds like they paid him 30 pieces of silver, maybe right then and there on Wednesday, and then for him it was just a matter of like, when's the right time now to betray Jesus? And so he would have waited probably a little over 12 hours. And then he did it. He did it within maybe 24 hours, actually. But yeah, so that's called Spy Wednesday because then Judas was kind of like a spy. But, you know, I want to back up a little bit. And we were talking about Holy Week as a family at supper on Monday. But I often think about Jesus' last week on earth and how traumatic it was and how intense it was with betrayals on every side and the fickleness of the crowd celebrating him on Palm Sunday, turning by Friday. And then one of his own betraying him, and then his other friends who ran in the garden, you know, everyone just scattered, and the slander and the persecution, and just it was an awful week. But he handled himself with grace and dignity and never lost it, never yelled at anyone, never screamed and got angry illegitimately, but was entrusting himself to the Father through all of this. I mean, I don't know, you've probably been in situations where people are coming for you, you know what I'm talking about? And you have to really watch your steps because you got to be careful with your trust. And Jesus was walking on a tightrope the last week that he was on earth, but he did that for us. You know, all of this he was looking beyond the suffering and the shame to the joy that was on the other end. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. The home team wins. We always win, and it's a great day, and prepare your hearts for that. I know there's a certain point when I drive to church on Sunday mornings that I pray, and I would challenge you to come prepared, and you can start preparing even now. But anyway, let me bless you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. See you soon on Sunday. Bye.